Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Tarot for Our Times. Just like I read on the internet, since we don't want to acknowledge whose birthday, it's like Obama stuff. And this is a T-shirt from my union that I got. I don't know how many years. I think maybe it was his first term. I got this T-shirt. So I thought I would wear that to have an Obama thing. Now, we are at June 14th, and it's kind of I got a dual card hit, and which I usually don't do. It's usually my one theme card. But for this one, it just occurred to me, it's a very Gemini thing. So we have strength versus the devil. Now, as I said in a previous reading when I was measuring the energy of what was coming up for the protests, I did say to be very careful because the devil is going to be throughout this, and that's usually the troublemakers. And it may not always be, well, I mean, it always is the people that are starting trouble, but it could also be a person in the crowd that's like really with you, but will draw you towards the trouble and kind of get, get psychology and get you involved. So this is something to watch out for. But interesting, as part of the devil energy of today, is I'm sure that you have heard the news by now about the assassinations in Minnesota, where the suspect, who at this reading is at large, I keep checking. I think that maybe by tonight he's either going to be captured, I hope, or dead. So that may be part of the reading. As far as I will, during this whole thing, I will not have known what's going to happen. And the suspect they are going after is a Vance Bolter, who apparently works for a security company. So he murdered former Speaker, I think it's the Minnesota House, Melissa Hortman, and her husband. And then he went after Senator John Hoffman and his wife, but they were injured. And I think they're going to be okay. So for those that say, oh, but maybe it was a Democrat or something like that, they did find the list in the fake police car that he had. He was altered. It's scary that people can get their hands on police uniforms. Hopefully they'll start clamping down on that. But they found he had a manifesto and a list. So he's targeting Tim Walz, the governor and former vice president candidate, and Ilhan Omar. So it doesn't get more democratic than that. So the devil is kind of loose in different ways maybe we hadn't anticipate. Plus, they are the Proud Boys are there, out and about trying to start some trouble. And people have pushed back against them but not engaged them. So far, no acts of violence, but it's been my observation that, and I've got to make this clear, that in the past where there have been the lootings and that sort of thing, that's pretty much after the crowd has dispersed. It's the end or the aftermath, and usually has nothing to do with the demonstration itself. It's usually opportunistic people that have no political views, but they're going to take the advantage of it. And of course, the protesters get blamed. So that will be interesting to see what happens later. I may come back on later. I'm not going to look at that parade. It looks like it's going to rain. But I will, check in on the internet and see what's going on with that. I may get back to you later. This is the afternoon here in the eastern U.S. And again, I'm going to cut my publishing time a little short and do it for fairly not too long after I make the video. And so we have strength. Now, the important thing about the strength card is that this goes against the toxic masculinity of the devil. And I've to say my title is saying First Amendment Strength versus Toxic Magulinity, which is what the MAGA is like the worst aspect of fake American masculinity, with the chest beating and the testicles on trucks and the chest beating and all of that, and the guns, owning a freaking arsenal. So these are the two, it's very Gemini, these are the two forces that are at work, and I have been shuffling the cards. So first I want to read on this whole Minnesota thing, because this did happen probably as people were gathering for the different protests. Now, this is very interesting. Aside with the lists, there was some literature about the No Kings protests. And so I guess I can understand where law enforcement advised people not to attend, but then again, that's the way of making them win. But I understand. I think the thing is that as soon as they had an idea who the suspect was, they plastered his photo you just cannot open anything on the internet without seeing his mug. And so I think that is because that's where they'd be looking for him. I'm sure they were so by doing that did provide a certain amount of safety, and people look at their phones at these protests. So if they see that face, they're going to be on the lookout, and there's certainly enough cops are there for them to be able to put the finger if the guy shows up. So I was a little worried about Florida and Texas, but so far so good. I guess the National Guard, they're just sort of there twiddling their thumbs and telling people just to get back on the curb or not to go through this line. And is pretty much as long as you listen to them, it's going to be okay. But Satan made some pretty threatening remarks about what could be happening if people stepped out of line. So a lot of chest beating, but it's as I say, so far so good. And I would think some of them are probably, the East Coast is maybe starting to wind down, I think they'll go a little longer than usual. But I think once it gets dark, it'll slowly be breaking up. I got a lot of history. And if it were, I really wanted to go today, but if it weren't for my health thing, I really would have gone. In fact, I was very tempted, but I don't even know if I would have made it from the parking lot to where the action is. So at any rate, okay, so I've been shuffling these up. So what I'm going to do is read about these shootings and see see the energy around it, and just see what could be the future, or what this could bring about. So, okay. Maybe I'll see if they're going to catch him. Who knows? Okay, so as the main card here, the Two of Swords. This is very interesting because this is about, I think that law enforcement, they're trying to make up their mind about capturing him. maybe it's a capture or shoot to kill. I mean, you do want to get them alive, but I mean, I hate to be kind of morbid about this, but you know, if they get him alive, I mean, if they were to kill him, then there would be no pardon. And I think people have already started to worry about the fact that he could be pardoned. So who knows what's going to happen. I think that this is about the indecision of how are we going to deal with him when we come across him. So let's see. A lot of times these people do end up unalived. So let's see. The energy around this is the Hermit in reverse, which is, see, he's very careful here not to step on the snake. I think when we see this guy in reverse, there's a danger that he's not looking where he's going because he shouldn't be alone, and that he will get bit. So I think that this came up so unexpectedly. They're kind of at a loss as to, well, what are we going to do about this? So maybe I can get some clarity here in the a little bit of before this happened. We have the Three of Pentacles, where the artist is just finishing up, and he is about to talk to the patrons as to what the fee is going to be, or to make some kind of bargain or agreement. So he's finishing up and thinking about it. Yeah, this comes to kind of like the indecision. And I also noticed that they were not, I mean, they didn't tell much about him. Usually when they have interviewed people that know him, to say, oh, he was a nut job with Trump signs and swastikas, but he was quiet and this, all of this stuff. But they haven't been releasing any of that because I think they're kind of like because with marches and this and that going on, they're kind of stretched a little bit thin, I think. So they're really having a difficult time deciding how. I really think they may catch up with him, which may be a question. So as a result of this, we have the Ace of Swords. This is definitely see, the truth is buried in the ground, and the birds about the message. So they're probably trying to decide how much of that sword are they going to pull out of the earth? How much is going to be, are they going to let the public know? They did have to show his face because they do need help in identifying him, especially if he's still wearing that police uniform, although he may have ditched it by now in some way or another, but he did leave the police car. I don't know if he had another vehicle waiting, so we just don't know that much. And maybe they feel, I think it's trying to, how much do we reveal and how much do we not reveal? Because apparently they feel as though that's going to compromise their interview. So let's see. In opposition of this, we have the world. We have the world in reverse. Yep. There's something very incomplete. This is telling me that until their investigation is complete, they need to. They really need to be careful what they let us know. I think there's a lot more going on with this than meets the eye. I also get a sense that they had no idea that this was coming up. So we're going to look at the conscious and the subconscious. So consciously, and I'm really focusing this on the law enforcement and the people of Minneapolis. I mean, the people in the area where he visited, so to speak, or where the victims were, they've been really said to stay in your house. And if you see just one policeman, don't let him in. So, okay, so consciously, yeah. God, that this I would say this may be Governor Walz. There's a lot of turmoil going on underneath. There's some choppy waters, and he's trying to hold that cup up. So I think he's done a very good job of being a comforter, a leader that's a comforter, and then trying to keep people from panicking. So this is the conscious thought. They're depending on him to keep a cool head, and I think this may explain why they're really keeping a lot of stuff under their hat, because they're in a volatile situation with protests and that stupid parade. Although who knows if I'm going to maybe see about the weather with that parade too. Okay, so the subconscious thoughts is the Hanged Man. So subconsciously, they know they've got to pause for a minute, but they can't pause too long. But it's pausing to see things from a different point of view in their investigation. There's got to be some really wild stuff about him. So it's like, on the surface, keeping everything calm, but then maybe having to change a little bit, realize that they have to change a little bit in their thinking of capturing this guy. So, in the past, we have, everything was going just really great. We had, the right amount of law enforcement. So far, so good. Didn't seem like there's going to be any trouble, but then this was before all of this happened, and maybe maybe. See, the problem with him is he gets a little bit too complacent. So they did not see, sometimes they hear chatter and whatnot. They did not see this coming. So they got a little, okay, everything is secure for I think this happened like 2:00 in the morning or something like that. So everything is secure, or it might have been at dawn. I'm not sure. And then this kind of upset their Apple Card for all the events for today. So that's in the past, and with the past I put a before tarot, and we have here. Okay, so when this guy is right side up with the Seven of Cups, he he wants to kind of avoid the smoke screens and all the negative stuff that it hasn't. Those cups aren't full, so there's been nothing that's been really happening. And he gets a little bit complacent and does kind of like a relative of this. So I would say that's even more intense of like not seeing this coming. They didn't even have a reason to see this coming. So it's interesting how this kind of complements this. So, okay, so in the present, we have very apropos. So it kind of upset the apple cart in their journey of smooth sailing ahead, that they were apprehensive, but everything between the mayor, the governor, all of law enforcement, it was like really going to be smooth sailing. Well, not so much anymore. This, I think, now they probably rose to meet the occasion, but this really, really threw them off. So, going a little bit into the future, we have the Six of Pentacles. So what I'm saying is that they really had to rearrange some things, because now the scales are unbalanced, and there are people that whose needs they needed to fulfill that they can't do it. So this is causing a little bit of chaos, but the thing is that I think that the King of Cups is saying it may be like that, but we really cannot, you know, get into that whole thing, that we have to adapt. So further into the future, as the day ends with the after tarot, is oh good, the ten of Pentacles. So this is pretty much the legacy of the future, about the new guard inheriting, the legacy of the family. So I would say that in spite of all of this being thrown off their balance, that they're definitely doing the best that they can. They really are doing the job, and that it will not put a stain on the legacy of people in government, whether it's the governor, the mayor, all of this sort of thing. So this is very good. Then further down the road, we have here the King of Pentacles in reverse. But this is interesting because this is about money. This is about health. I would say that this could be whoever there is, obviously a very sick person, but when this is upright, he's kind of taming the bull. This guy is really out of control. He appears to have been disciplined in his planning with the, police uniform and all that sort of thing. It's all falling apart with him now. So, which I'm going to say he's going to make some slip ups and maybe be captured. My psychic sense is saying that he may want to be killed. A lot of times this is a suicide mission. If they don't put themselves in a position where it happens right away, they could still go. It's not as likely, but they could still go for suicide by cop, sort of thing. Okay, so hopes and the fears of those in power in Minnesota is they've got more coming at them, but this is saying although this is sudden, they're meeting the challenge, but then they're still afraid this day is not over yet, because don't forget they're an hour behind where I am. So this day is not over, so the fear is that of keeping it in control. That's really what they want to do. So the conclusion card of this, I feel like I need to give it a bit of a shuffle, is okay. The High Priestess. She is one that is caught between the pillar of the light and the darkness. So what this is telling me is that there's a very dark side, aside from the obvious, there's a very dark side to what is happening with this person this Vance person that they're pursuing, and the High Priestess is rising out of the sea of the secrets. There's always some deep, dark secrets. There could be some very unflattering things that could be coming to surface about MAGA. That tell me that this is what I feel like seeing the High Priestess, is that there's going to be a lot. There's a lot of the if you thought it couldn't get any uglier, there's a lot of undercurrent about this whole MAGA cult that for some reason could be revealed with this guy, and that we could be possibly finding, I think it's going to be like peeling back the layer, like layer by layer. I don't think it's going to hit us all, but the layers of the onion are going to come off, and we will be finding out about some stuff. It's almost like that guy in Michigan that wanted to kill the governor. And it's interesting that the last video I saw on Occupy Democrats was they showed a clip as to Trump being asked if he was going to pardon that guy, and he alluded to the fact that he thought the guy was railroaded. So that's very, very scary stuff on the heels of this. And he has pardoned essentially cop killers, the guys that that were complicit in the police officer that died shortly after 1/6, because they were beating the hell out of him, and he died later from his injuries. So and they're all they're all recorded, they're all there for posterity to see. And he's he pardoned those people. Usually those people, they throw that's a death penalty in some states, and this is at least throw away the key material, yet they're out after a few years. They're out. So it makes me very nervous that if they get this guy, that he could be pardoned. That's the really scary thing. So who knows? Sometimes a lot of these things, when they chase the guy, he ends up unalived. So who knows what's going to happen. I don't wish things on people. Superstitious thing of mine. I don't do that on one hand, but on the other hand, boy, that would but at any rate, we have to wait and see what happens. I mean, it could be when I'm done recording and uploading this thing that the things break so fast, and as I say, I may do a follow-up later or early tomorrow. So let's see. So I didn't, as I did this, I didn't think of it from the point of view that there's a lot more to this guy. I thought it's kind of odd that usually everything about this person, from whatever the neighbors say. Oh, he went to Nazi meetings, or he did this or that. I mean, we don't know that much about him. I think it's very, very dark stuff, and possibly implicating other people, which may be a reason for getting the guy alive. So I want to see first of all, I want to see, this may be done in a couple of quickies, I think. I want to see if there's going to be rain. I've been looking at the DC weather. It's kind of iffy, but they have flood warnings, which means it was raining yesterday a lot. And if you know anything about that area of Washington, D.C., or the D.C. as a whole, that it is from prehistoric times, it is a swampland. That's why it's so god-awful hot in the summer, mosquitoes all over the place, and that's why people get out of Dodge in the summer, because they're dealing with an old swampland. So that means that it's probably vulnerable to flooding. So let's see what a few cards have to say about this. Okay, and then we're going to get to about what's going on with the protests. So I just want to do a quickie on, is it going to rain? Okay, so Alrighty, let's lower this. And okay, so a before tarot. So leading up to this, we have, oh, okay, before tarot, this is all about the crooked family getting together to make the plans of what they're going to do with their ill-gotten gains and how to get more ill-gotten gains. So this is in reverse. So of course this parade is going to they're selling his shit there, the they are his crappy stuff. So it's going to be an opportunity to make more money to fill up the coffers of the family, so to speak. So, and it's a fundraising thing for people still stupid enough to donate their hard-earned money. So the basic energy of this is interesting. Interesting. The King of Cups. So, I think it was David on Tarot by the Bay, either David or his twin Gary, who said that, I think it was one of them that said that this is Pope Leo. And I said, I like that. So, the Pope is going to be giving an address at about the time the parade begins. So, this could be the overarching competition, which means that if it rains on his parade, more people may be tuning in to see the Pope. So let's see what we got here. In the after tarot, we have, we have the Seven of Cups. So in the upright position, which I'll show you, in the upright position, he's planted his harvest. He's not that sure of it, but he figures he'll take some of it with him. When this is reversed, he just wants to walk away from it because it was very badly planned. He'll take a few bucks, better than nothing, that kind of thing. So, this could be a disaster, and it could be the pontiff himself that I think, rain or shine, that the pontiff is going to but I haven't seen too much of that on the internet today, but that's the big elephant in the room for them. So let's see, the energy around this is the Emperor in reverse. So this is my trump card. This is the toxic Magulinity. This is the unattractive, ugly American male. He huffs and he puffs and acts like a big bully, but in the end, he's coming from a position of weakness. This also says that he may, if this parade gets messed up, he may have himself a big hissy fit, because already he's not real happy because the protests have been humongous and peaceful. I don't think there have been very many. I think there have been a couple close calls. I don't think there's been any major incidents, but keeping my fingers crossed. Okay. This is going to be a little abbreviated. So in opposition to this, we have, we've got the propaganda and the smoke screens and the spinning of the Minnesota assassination and this and the radical left, blah, 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 to maybe offset a disappointment that this may be a rain out. Okay, so I'm trying to focus my energy on that. Okay, so we're going to see in the past, we have, the Queen of Cups. So, in the past, leading up to this, is this queen is trying to decide, is that water in that cup toxic or is it not? So this is talking about the doubts that maybe some of his people have had, that they dare not speak lest the ketchup bottles start to fly. Okay, so a little bit of trepidation about this. Okay, in the present we have all the best laid plans. Just, I think this looks like there could be weather. They may not get rained out, but it just may be one big old soggy mess. And it's really hard for bands to play when it's raining. So I guess what they thought, and this is also about, there is a bit of chit chatter about, there are investigations about the election being stolen. There's some legitimate investigations going on. So they've got that in the background. So they're not walking away with all the goodies. That's what's going on now. So let's see, coming up a bit in the future, we have, it's about the money. It's about making the money. This is not, it's funny because this is not, the obvious legacy thing like the other decks are. But this is about, and it's all about the greed and trying to fill up the coffers. These guys don't have enough money. So coming up a little bit in the future, we have the Eight of Cups. Very interesting. And this, when she's upright, this is about having like the last call, having a drink before walking away. In this one, this is about mental illness and substance abuse and kind of being stuck in this crap and not being able to walk away from it. So this is telling me that if things don't go well, they're not going to react really good. They're going to make things worse. Cups in reverse, that could also be about storms too. And going a little further into the, okay. Okay, this is a card, this is a national security, and in the before, she's got, it's like the Garden of Eden thing with the serpent handing her the apple. It looks like she's taken it, but she's not grabbing it close. It looks like there might be some regret. I'm going to say there's some aspects about this that with all the emphasis on this, that and the bombing of Iran by Israel. And I have to make one thing clear, is though, even though I did say I don't see them getting involved because of his money interest. He's done, that was partially true, but he's operated with them the way he has in business. He never gets his own hands dirty. He has ways of having other people do, like Michael Cohen is a good example. But it's also that, then he doesn't send emails, but he'll do things sort of like through the back door that he can't be blamed for directly. And that's kind of what he has been doing, although he may have taken a step a little bit too far. But I think he's doing it in a way that he is going to keep his interests, because there's the money, honey. That's what it is. So let's see. So let's see if I can find a card to say what's going to happen with this. Oh, Death in Reverse. And this Death in Reverse, I would say that this is pretty much about what I've been saying along. There's not going to be one thing. It's going to be a lot of mini deaths and illnesses that will lead up to the big one. So what this is saying is that, yep, this is just, it's kind of like the nails in the coffin. So doesn't quite answer the rain question, but then I don't know if there's, let's see. So, here she is again, the high priestess. There is going to be stuff that is revealed. So, as far as this, there could be the link up. But so, in a sense, it kind of doesn't even make any difference. It really doesn't make any difference whether it rains or not. I think it's going to be a soggy one. A lot of cups here. So it's going to be something of a soaker. I don't know if it's enough. I think it may be borderline. It may be cut short. But the percentages weren't super high as far as the possibility, although they were creeping up. So it's very hard to tell, because I think in that area things with the weather can change really fast. So, but it's in a sense, it's not a very healthy thing for the regime, whether it goes on or it doesn't. I would say what these are telling me is that there are other ways in which this is going to be a disaster. And the one thing is that, Catholic or not Catholic, I think people, after all of the drama today, I think maybe people want to say, you know what, I think I want to listen to someone that has something positive to say. And I may not believe in all the Catholic stuff, but he's a good guy. He's for peace. Let me hear the peace and love message, because they aren't going to hear it in DC. So, I just want to say, they're not over yet. I just want to read the general energy on a very quick 4 to 6 card reading. So, let's see what the energy of these protests are going to be. And what could be a result? It's all looking very positive. I mean, I saw, when I looked at the aerial shot that the Post-Gazette did for the Pittsburgh, it's like they're stretching all the way up Grant Street. I wouldn't be surprised if it went, for those of you that know Pittsburgh, that I wouldn't be surprised if it went practically to the Strip District, or at least those federal buildings, convention center area, because that, it just looked like that, plus the other streets down Fifth Avenue and all of this sort of thing. It looked very, very, and there were people wearing masks, and I think it is because we don't know what crapola is floating out there now, that I think I would have anticipating the crowds just for health reasons, with all those people being that close, just to, it's like going into the crowded supermarket. You do want to protect yourself for a couple hours. It isn't going to kill you. I've had them on a lot longer than that. Okay, so let's see what can these protests mean. Okay, so general energy is with the protests. Okay, so 8 of Wands, upright. There's going to be a lot of stuff happening. A lot of things that are, I think that this is kind of like a big morale thing. I think with certainly with the media, with how things are reported, maybe even, hopefully, maybe the rapidity of his no longer being in office one way or other, that things could be speeding up. All these things, I think all of these things happening today is really leading up to it. Okay, so then we have, and challenging it is the Page of Wands. So I would say it is the immaturity of the MAGA world and some very hot tempers that, they're throwing toddler tantrums. And it's interesting because it's one. These are upright. This is the energy of what we have to deal with all of this stuff. So I want to see a little bit into the past here. I think I have been shuffling these. Okay. Okay, so building up to these is, I think that in light of what happened in LA, with maybe a lot of some of the governors I always look at this as they kind of made up their mind, but they still need to take off the blindfold. Whether Texas and Florida decide to call in the National Guard, others, governors like my governor, Shapiro, thought everything is under control, but he's got the phone ready if he needs them. So they pretty much made their decision and getting all the security in place pretty well. But I think I need another card just to make sure. So this was in the preparation. Okay, so then we have, yep, it was in the planning. This guy works slowly and meticulously. So what this is saying is that I think they worked a little bit harder in light of what happened in LA, which has been pretty. There've been a few incidents, but they made way too much of that. So, and they knew that agent provocateur would be okay. All of that. Okay, so then leading to the future is the fear of all of these things being thrown off balance. I think the thing is that what this temperance in reverse is saying is that, this is the card. When I do this for people in recovery, this is the card of, you better watch it because you may be, you can make a choice where you may be vulnerable to a relapse. So just watch it. So this is not being able to hold on to sobriety. And so I would say that this pretty much, or the people have a problem with mental illness and substance abuse. To me, this is what this is saying with Hegseth. He's going to be upping his consumption. And some of the others, there are others in this administration that really have some very bad issues. So expect this kind of stuff to increase with a more erratic behavior. And then we have, but there still will be a lot of challenges. There still will be. So what I'm seeing, this kind of does validate my theory that we may not have, we may yet though have that face in the crowd hot mic where Patricia Neal turns on the mic with that Lonesome Roads Andy Griffith part where he goes, "Good night, you stupid fools, you suckers," all this sort of thing, and then that finishes him off. Boy, in just a few elevator ride down to the first, he's done. He doesn't even know it. I don't know if there's going to be a moment like that, but it's been a lot of little moments that's leading to the big one, and who knows. There could be a final one that does happen. I wasn't thinking so before, but I think I got a little hit saying there could be, but it would be more like the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe nothing as dramatic as what happened in that movie, but which I recommend that you see. But that it could lead up to, someone stubs their toe or he does something that wouldn't have, and no one would have given a second thought in light of the other awful stuff that will just be something to send everybody over the edge. That's highly possible, but I I see this as an event of all of these things pretty much on that road, pretty much on the road to the end of this. So we'll have to see. So I'm going to play it by ear. I may be coming back later. So in the meantime, if you're out and about with this, just be careful, be peaceful. Something tells me they might be going on tomorrow too. So with that, I'll sign off for now. Bye.